Well, happy Thursday, my friends, and just like that, the NBA trade deadline has came and went. My name is David Huffman. Right there is my co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins, and on today's episode of the Crossover, we're going to break down what went down at the 2024 NBA trade deadline. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. This is just our rapid reaction to stuff that happened today. We will do a more in-depth show here in the future, but this is just a rapid reaction show to what went down in the NBA trade deadline. TJ, welcome to the show. Happy Thursday, my friend. If you had to describe one word for this NBA trade deadline, what would that word be?
Uneventful, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, very tame. This is a very timid trade deadline. All of the big moves that we thought we were going to see go down, none of those ended up panning out. There's some interesting trades, some interesting teams that didn't make moves, some interesting teams that did make moves. We're going to talk about it all here on this episode of The Prime. Thank you very much for checking us out. Let's not waste any time. Let's just talk about it. Let's start with the first trade, and let's just get instant reaction to every single deal that went down today. We're not going to talk as much about the deals that already went down before today. We're talking about just stuff that happened today. So let's start with probably, in my opinion, was the most it's going to make the most head-scratching trade for me when we talk about that later in the show. But this trade between the Utah Jazz and the Toronto Raptors, I just do not understand. The Raptors get Kelly Olynyk and Ajbaji, the kid from Kansas who won, I think he won Most Outstanding Player, or Ohio State? Yeah, Ohio State.
No, he was Kansas.
Yeah, he won Most Outstanding Player in the NCAA tournament a few years ago when they won the Natty. And then the Jazz get Otto Porter Jr., Kira Lewis, and a lightly protected or a first-round pick with no protections. It is outside. It's probably going to be a fringe first-round pick. I don't get this trade for the Raptors. Like I don't understand trading any assets whatsoever for Kelly. Like, what are you trying to do here?
It's the Raptors.
I don't get it. Like, it seemed like they were heading in a direction that, hey, we're gonna blow this team up, or we're not, and now they are like, I don't get it. Explain it to me. It makes zero sense whatsoever. This is probably the most confusing trade.
It's gonna blow the team. They're not even close to competing. This move does nothing for them.
I know, but giving up a first round pick, an asset for 3 months of Kelly Olynyk, I don't get it.
Who's the asset they gave up?
The first round pick.
What's the first round pick? How's it helping them right now?
They're not trying to really. I don't think they're trying to compete for anything, and they're not going to. It's a pretty confusing trade if you think about it. Like, I don't get it.
The first round pick, it's not playing right now. It's just there. We don't even know what the first round pick is going to be, or who it's going to. Right? Like,
but I mean, it's more valuable to their future team than Kelly Olynyk's ever going to be.
Again, it's the Raptors. It's why they are where they are. They make moves that don't make sense. It's why they're right. Like, they waited forever to trade. They waited forever to blow up the team in the first place. I feel like they should have been did this. They just I don't know what took them so long to do it.
I don't understand. This feels a lot like when they traded for Jakob Poeltl last season for like a first round pick. Like, I don't understand this trade at all. But I think for Utah, I mean, you get a first round pick out of this. I think that's a home run.
Yeah, Danny Ainge doing Danny Ainge things.
Yeah. Like, if Kira Lewis still has some upside, I think if you can see if he can play a little bit, I think this is a really good trade for the Jazz. I don't understand it at all for the Raptors, unless you're really high on Ajbaji.
I don't understand it. Like, if you're Kira Lewis, if you're Utah, what are you going to do with Kira Lewis that the Pelicans and the Raptors?
Yeah, I don't know, but you got a first round pick out of it. I think that's a win. To the next trade, we got Buddy Hield, probably the best player to be traded during this trade deadline. Probably the most high-profile player, at least, going to the Philadelphia 76ers. He gets Marcus Morris, who already got bought out. Furkan Korkmaz, who's a good basketball player, and 3 second-round picks go to Indiana. I think Buddy Hield is probably the best player to get traded today, and probably going to make the biggest impact on a team. I like this trade for Philadelphia, and I kind of like what Philadelphia did for this trade deadline.
Yeah, I know Casey Johnson was talking about before I fell asleep. He said that the Bulls and Sixers were engaging in talks for DeRozan, but obviously that fell apart or it didn't last long because it went from trade talks for DeRozan to DeRozan's going to sign an extension in the summer, and we'll get to that in another episode. But yeah, if you're Philly, you got Buddy Hield without having to give up a guy like Tobias Harris, which
Yeah.
is which is huge.
I mean, you gave up pieces that don't play a lot, like.
Right. Like, and
And
if
for
you,
and for Indiana, you get cap flexibility. You probably weren't going to be able to re-sign Buddy Hield at the contract that he wanted, being how productive he is, and he hasn't been as good this season. He's been seasons in the past. I like this trade for actually both sides.
yeah, Buddy Hield gets to play meaningful basketball for the first time in a while.
While.
Yeah, or ever. He hasn't played ever.
It's been a while. I mean, he was on those Pelican teams that were semi decent, I think, but I don't, honestly I don't remember. Um,
It's been a while.
uh,
Again, this is we said this yesterday, or not yesterday, the day before yesterday, that if you're Philly, you just got to keep this thing afloat for basically a month. Like, and Joel Embiid's not coming back in a month. He's being reevaluated in a month.
yeah.
So you got to do whatever you can to keep this thing right where
And
it's at.
Buddy Hield will absolutely score the basketball. He's still the highest scoring player in that draft class that he's in. So I think that's a pretty good move. To the next move, we got the Detroit Pistons and the Philadelphia 76ers making a trade. Detroit gets Daniel House Jr., who is on an expiring contract. They have not announced what the Sixers are getting in return for this trade. But what do you think about House and a second round pick going to the Pistons?
Um,
I don't.
just that, like, it's the bigger trade is them getting Alec Burks and them getting off of Alec Burks and
Yeah,
Bogdanovich.
we'll talk about them here in a second.
Daniel House and the second round pick. Ooh, it's nothing.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. To the next trade, we got a trade between. Hold on a second. Sorry, I got a bunch of windows here open. One of the bigger trades of the entire trade deadline, we got the Oklahoma City Thunder getting Gordon Hayward without giving up a lot of stuff out of their war chest. They basically just gave up some stuff that wasn't part of their rotation. Trey Mann, C, who's a guard. I don't know anything about him, to be totally honest with you. And then Davis Bertans, who hasn't been playing for them either. They get Gordon Hayward, a guy who could shoot it 30% from the three-point line, a veteran presence in a pretty young locker room. I love this trade for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, it's a good trade for them. Like I said, like they have the guy that, like, when shit getting ugly, they can say, "Hey, slow down, get out of this guy's way, and get a bucket." And that guy's SGA, right? Gordon Hayward, like you said, he just adds some maturity and vet presence to a young locker room. That's all that is. I don't hate it. Like, Gordon Hayward gets to play meaningful basketball, hopefully, as long as he's healthy, for the first time in forever. Like, let's be honest, probably ain't played meaningful basketball since he left Utah. And
Well, so welcome into the show, real quick, Israel Rivera. How's it going, man? Happy Thursday, happy trade deadline day.
What's going on, brother?
CJ, go ahead. Sorry.
no, you good. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, it's Charlotte gets off his contract. Well, what's left of it, and OKC
I think it's an expiring now. So like this is
That's
becoming expiring. Yeah.
I said, or what's left of it. So
Yeah, he's in the last year of whatever that monster deal that he signed a few years ago. They're gonna have a pretty empty cap book next season for the Charlotte Hornets. Izzy, what are your thoughts on this trade for the Thunder and Hornets?
I mean, the Charlotte Hornets are. I mean, who cares about what the Charlotte Hornets are doing? They like, who said that? Like Terry Rozier said. I mean, they're used to losing, right? So they're really just just kind of trying to build, trying to build up the young guys. I mean, guys like Brandon Miller starting to play well. I mean, you add Davis Bertans and Trey Mann. Trey Mann's another young guy. Got LaMelo Ball. Miles Bridges isn't going anywhere. But I love the trade for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, I mean Gordon Hayward, like you said before I hopped on, is a veteran presence. He's a guy that is going to come off the bench. He doesn't mind coming off the bench. He's unselfish. He's going to make the right plays. And I mean, this team needs that because they got a bunch of young guys that are on the team that are kind of grown into their own kind of Boston Celtics style. Like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, style. How all those guys kind of grew together. But now you add a veteran guy to the mix. Who can calm guys down when they get in the certain situations in the playoffs. And I think this is really just this is a playoff move right here. Like a guy that when the playoffs come along, Gordon Hayward, can gather up the troops. And I like what TJ said about Shea. I mean, he's your superstar. I mean, he's your guy that's going to give you 30 a night. He's going to dictate the pace. And then you got a guy in the middle and a unicorn and Chet Holmgren, who's pretty much the straw to everything that goes along with Oklahoma City. Block shots, gets it going in transition. Really can shoot, can stretch the floor, stretch your five, get them out the paint. So like this trade for the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think they needed something like this on the roster. So.
To the next deal, the Dallas Mavericks and Washington Wizards swap big men. Daniel Gafford goes to the Dallas Mavericks, former Chicago Bull. Rashad Holmes and some draft compensation goes to the Wizards. Daniel Gafford is a good player, and he gives them some 5 depth at the Dallas Mavericks. I think this is also a trade that I like for both sides.
Yeah, Andre Drummond was also being talked about being sent to the Mavericks, but once again, trade talks fell through. Or whatever happened, and either way, Dallas got a serviceable big man in the rotation because like after Derek Lively, they're small. Like Dwight Powell is not a 5, Maxi Kleber is not a 5.
And you adding a starting quality big man to the rotation on the bench. Daniel Gafford was starting in Washington. Now he gets to, come off the bench. I mean, he's not going to start in Dallas. I mean, they have something good going with Derek Lively, but he's going to be able to come and spell them, and he's going to be able, if Derek Lively gets in foul trouble, he'll be able to step right in, block shots, rebound, bring that defensive presence in the paint. So, this is a good trade for the Mavs. I don't know how much it does for the Wizards. I mean, the Wizards are pretty much – during that realm of.
So Rashawn Holmes has 2 less years on his contract that are fully guaranteed. So it basically gives him some cap flexibility, but I'm not sure who's going there. So
that's what I'm saying. Ain't nobody going there. No free agents are going there, man.
To the Knicks and the Pistons trade now. They connect for a 6-player deal. Bogdan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks both go to New York. Detroit gets some contract filler, including Evan Fournier, Malachi Flynn, Quentin Grimes, who still has some upside, Ryan Arcidiacono, and 2 second-round picks. I have no idea.
Hey, hold on, David. Remember we were at the Bulls game? This is where he reminded me. Remember when Dave Andrulis was like, Ryan Arcidiacono? Yeah, bro. Archie's a hustler, but he
he hasn't scored a game in like a
he hasn't played. Evan Fournier hasn't played. I expect Evan Fournier to get waived, actually.
I do not.
To go to some type of contender. I mean, what's the point of them?
But I love this move for the Knicks. I think the Eastern Conference is as gettable as it's ever been, as we talked about in the last show. Bogdan Bogdanovic is a proven scorer. Alec Burks is also a 40% three-point shooter. You just add some firepower to your lineup with Julius Randle now being out for probably another week or so. I love this trade for the Knicks. I don't understand this trade at all for the Pistons. I understand that your season's not going anywhere, but trading these 2 guys without getting at least a first-round pick back for him feels like a mistake.
No, don't. Get what you can.
Yeah, I mean,
but there's
Pistons they added the Pistons added a couple shooters as well, right? Earlier in the day, right? They added Simone Fontecchio as well, who I like. They just waived Danilo Gallinari, by the way, too. as well.
Yeah, the Pistons added. Yeah, Pistons added.
Yeah,
him.
Fontecchio's a nice young. He's 28, but
Yeah,
he's
that trade happened 2 days ago, or yesterday. So we didn't really touch on those two trades.
Yeah, when I look at it, I mean, the Pistons are just. I mean, they waived Killian Hayes. I mean, Malachi Flynn. I mean, before the trade with Emmanuel Quickly, he was coming off the bench with Gary Trent in Toronto, and then he kind of got exiled out a little bit there. So getting traded to the Knicks or whatever. So Malachi Flynn, it's going to bring them some depth off the bench. When it comes to Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, who just had 37 yesterday. Quentin Grimes, another young defensive player on the wing that at the guard position.
And still has some upside. So
yeah, there's a couple good players. Evan Fournier is more or less
he's a contract filler that made this deal work.
I hate that he had to go there. I mean, I hate that he had to go to a Pistons team. Evan Fournier can help team out.
He's making $20 million still a year. I'm sure how bad.
I'm not feeling bad for him. Right. I'm not feeling bad for the
Those checks are still cashing.
Yeah. I done told y'all stop pocket watching. That is not a good.
We're not gonna pocket watch, but still, like, you know what though? Evan Fournier I believe Evan Fournier can still. I mean,
he can still play
early
for
30s.
sure.
I think he can still be a 3
he's not that old.
Guy.
He should be able to still give team something. I just don't.
I mean,
understand
him
why
and Derrick Rose last year fell out of rotation in the Knicks. Derrick Rose went to Memphis, and Evan Fournier just kind of couldn't get out of New York. Well, now he gets out of New York, and
hopefully he gets bought out. We'll see what ends up happening. To the next, Raptors and Nets swap veteran guards. We got Spencer Dinwiddie going to the Toronto Raptors, and the Brooklyn Nets get Dennis Schroeder and Thad Young, who feels like he's been in the NBA for 5,000 years. But he hasn't been. I think he's probably younger than I am. I shouldn't even talk smack. But Thad Young, Dennis Schroeder going to the Nets, is they still, because of the way that they traded for James Harden, they still owe next year's pick to the Houston Rockets. So they can't even really like bottom out if they wanted to. So they have to still remain competitive. Dennis Schroeder's an upgrade over Spencer Dinwiddie. Thad Young some depth. I like this trade for both sides, I guess.
Well, no,
I don't understand Toronto. I mean, whatever.
Thad Young is 35.
Yeah, since they already said Spencer Dinwiddie's about to get waived too. So
then I for sure don't understand this trade at all for Toronto. So
yeah, he's
I think
they're trying to save 1.5 million or some shit like that. I have to go look at it. Go look at what they said. But yeah, Spencer Dinwiddie's getting waived. He's gonna be free to sign with whoever. Yeah. So
no.
I mean, there was no need to trade Dennis Schroeder. I mean, I especially for literally nothing.
No, this is the trade. No, this is the trade that guard. This is like a guard patch type trade. Like they just made a trade to make a trade. It don't make no damn sense. You feel me? Like no one benefits from this trade outside of.
No, I think Toronto for sure loses this trade. Like this is a loss. Like they take an L.
You know what? I mean, Gary Trent's been playing. Gary Trent, Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett. I mean, Dennis Schroeder. One of those guys. It wasn't going to be Quickly.
Yeah,
it wasn't going to be Quickly going.
I mean,
so.
if you're going to trade Dennis Schroeder, you could have waited. You could have waited until you got some value for him. I mean, this is literally trading him for nothing at all. Like he's under contract for next season. There was no need to trade him right now.
And then you waive Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, this was the dumb trade to me. Like you was talking about the one with Utah earlier.
They're both terrible trades. I'll just put it out there. They're both terrible.
This is just. This was dumb. I'm like, okay, this makes.
Oh, you guys don't like the O'Shea Abaji, Kelly Olynyk for 3 second round picks?
Is
it 3 second round picks?
It's a first. It's a first round pick.
Yeah.
They're trading the first round pick for Kelly Olynyk and O'Shea Abaji. I don't understand that trade at all. We're not circling back to it though. Let's swing into the next trade. Dallas Mavericks gets PJ Washington from the Hornets. A guy who can absolutely shoot the ball from the 3-point line. They had to give up Grant Williams, who was a big offseason acquisition for them, but never really panned out there in Dallas. They also give up Seth Curry and then a lightly protected 2027 first-round pick. TJ, thoughts?
I called that.
It's probably one of the better trades of the day. Like Miles Bridges goes to a place where he can play meaningful basketball again. Like, and he's coming to his own. Like, I predict. Like, I know he was being mock traded to Phoenix, but at the same time, it's like Phoenix. What do you?
PJ
have?
Washington, not Miles Bridges. PJ
Oh,
Washington.
Well, it's still a good trade for either one.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, it's a stretch three, gives them exactly what they need. I love this trade on both sides. I don't necessarily love it for, I guess Grant Williams under contract for a hot minute and you get a first round pick. But PJ Washington
I
is a
called
good,
this. I knew this was.
get.
I knew this was about to. This was about to go down for Grant Williams. He really wasn't giving them much, and they in Dallas is really. I mean, they're in the thick of things in the Western Conference playoffs, in the Western Conference standings. So they this guy, getting a PJ Washington is going to help them tremendously. I mean, especially for a guy like Luka and Kyrie, who both can collapse the defense and get it out to PJ Washington. And it's not like PJ Washington can't get his own shot.
Yeah, I mean,
PJ Washington could do
like
something that
35% 3-point shooters.
Yeah, but it's not like PJ Washington's just a standstill 3-point shooter. PJ Washington could actually go get his own shot
he can get
if needed.
ball on the floor.
So this is a definite upgrade for the Dallas Mavericks. And then, I mean, the Hornets getting Seth Curry. I mean, his dad's calling games for him. So,
I also think that he will. I think he will get waived and not play a game for the Hornets. But don't get I could be wrong. But Grant Williams, he's under contract for
and then get a 2027 first round pick out of it.
It's pretty protected. It's got some light protections on it. So I don't know.
Like the thing with Grant Williams is like I understand every team needs that guy, that quote unquote goon, whatever. But at the same time, hey, I need you to put the ball in the basket. At the end of the day, basketball reverts back to that. Like, it irks my soul when First Take is on and Kendrick Perkins is talking and Stephen A says, like, I know you weren't this, you were an enforcer. Bro, what the fuck is an enforcer? I need you to score. I'm not going to be out there playing 4-on-5. I need you to score.
PJ Washington has a 5 point per game more points per game. He's beating him in all across the board in all of the averages, including 3-point. They signed Grant Williams to be a 3-point specialist.
And not to mention, defensively, he has more upside than Grant Williams.
Grant Williams was brought into Dallas to be a defensive linchpin, and he just hasn't been that.
He was literally brought in to be a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah,
and
he just hasn't been good at that. To the Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers making a minor trade where they swap point guards. Patrick Beverley goes to the Bucks. Cameron Payne goes to the Sixers along with the 2027 second round pick. I mentioned this in the group chat. I think Patrick Beverley is exactly what this Milwaukee Bucks team has needed. They need a grimy, gritty point guard to kind of play some defense for this team because they're just atrocious on that side of the ball. And Cameron Payne helps them keep the Sixers afloat as long as Joel Embiid is going to be out. He could score a little bit. He probably won't play much at all, if any. But Patrick Beverley, I like this trade for the Bucks. I don't know how much he'll play, but I like it.
He's definitely playing. He's gonna play a lot. They've been missing the guy since ever since they got rid of Drew Holiday this season, this past season. I mean, they've been missing that because Dame. Obviously, he's such a great offensive player, but defensively, he's not Drew Holiday. You know what I mean? And so you get a guy like Patrick Beverley, who's also going to hold guys accountable, as well. Even though he ain't a superstar, Patrick Beverley doesn't hold his tongue. And and obviously on all teams, like, he's been a great teammate. I mean, everybody loves to play with Patrick Beverley, and I think this is something. This is something that Doc probably put in the call and was like, hey. Let's go. Hey, we need a guy like Pat. What we going to get for Pat? Because we need to bring that in. We need some toughness in his locker room. Something that the Bucks just have lacked all season long. Toughness. It just hasn't been there this season. And you've seen it the last few years. Especially when they won that championship. But this season, they're like Paul Pierce said, man. You got a bunch of labradoodles out there, man.
Yeah. I saw that clip. Like I saw that clip. Dave, what you talking about? Patrick Beverley's not gonna play. Like, he's gonna play a lot. Patrick Beverley's gonna play when he stops playing and he gets into coaching. he gonna be a hell of a coach.
I agree with you on that. Patrick Beverly's going to play, 20 minutes a night? I mean, I
He gonna
think
be a
that's
hell of a coach.
Yeah,
But
he probably will get like 20, 23, 24 minutes a night.
at the same time, John, he's one dude. He's one dude. Like unless you're gonna ask him to guard, all five. Like he can only do so much. Like we see it here.
It's like putting a band-aid on a gunshot wound. It's for real.
Yeah. You right, TJ. He's just one guy. You are right.
I still like the idea and principle of this.
No, like the idea is great. Like Charlotte, Milwaukee gets somebody that they desperately need. They get a presence that they desperately need, and Philly get what they need. They get as great as Patrick Beverly is defensively, he's not that offensively. He's inconsistent offensively.
Yeah, talk about. Yeah,
and then we got a couple of minor trades here. We're just going to get one-word reactions on these before we get to the final big trade. Indiana Pacers get Doug McDermott. The Spurs get a second-round pick and Marcus Morris, who they plan to waive. One-word reaction to this trade.
They just replaced Buddy Hield. We're trying to. They replaced his shooting. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're standing pat. That's all I gotta say.
Standing
pat. It's pretty much. It's pretty much.
And then the Sacramento Kings, they got Robin Lopez from the Milwaukee Bucks, who just got some cash. Robin Lopez will also be waived by the Sacramento Kings. This is a absolute cap luxury tax threshold move for Milwaukee. It allows them to bring in a buy-in player as well by moving on from Robin Lopez's contract. It's just smart money is my one word.
Smart money, but I feel like they traded the wrong brother. So
what?
For real, man. Come on, man. Rolo could play way better than Thanasis.
I thought you were talking about Brooke Lopez. I thought you were talking about Brooke Lopez. I'm like, man.
The wrong brother. They traded the wrong brother. They should have traded the other brother.
But he's cheaper, and you don't want to upset.
I know.
You're not gonna.
Come on, TJ. Right? If basketball wise, like Rolo, they're playing. The Bucks right now are playing Minnesota, and Rolo's on the side reading the freaking book. He's by the scores table, not uniform, nothing, reading the book, not watching the game, nothing. Like the dude is hilarious, but man, whatever. I loved him when he was in Chicago, man. He brought energy.
Actually, they're making the exact same amount of money. Or not, yeah, they're making the exact same amount of money. So,
bro, come on now. They brought, come on now. You think they're gonna get rid of Thanasis? Come on, bro. Giannis is the franchise guy. Come on. They went up to Brook. They said, hey, Brook, hey man, we're gonna trade your brother. He was like, are you serious, man?
They're probably gonna bring him back. Let's be real. And then to the next trade, the Sixers trade Jaden Springer to the Celtics. They get a second-round pick. This feels like another move where you're just trading assets away so you can bring something in the buy-in market, like a Kyle Lowry. I don't know.
Or Spencer Dinwiddie. I like Jaden Springer though. I like Jaden.
Actually, the next three trades are all that same principle, where you're basically, because of your contract situation, you can't bring anybody in unless you trade away somebody on your roster. The Boston Celtics, they got Danelle Batten, who I have no idea.
Batten?
I don't have a clue who that is.
I know who Delano Batten is. Delano Batten played for Nebraska.
They're going to heavily protect the second-round pick for it. They also freed up some cap space to potentially bring in a buy-in player. And then the Golden State Warriors, same idea. They trade away Corey Joseph, who I didn't even realize was still in the NBA, and they get a second-round pick.
He been playing for the Golden State Warriors, though. He's playing some good basketball.
I don't watch a lot of Golden State Warrior basketball. I'm sorry.
No, I know, but I'm saying he was playing a little bit for them. But so
we don't either, but we know he's on the roster.
Okay.
But yeah, he was playing a little bit for them. I think Corey Joseph going to the Pacers. I mean, you just add that backcourt depth, right? Because you got pretty much behind, especially for a point guard, pretty much behind Tyrese Halliburton. All you got is T.J. McConnell, and so you add Corey Joseph, who can maybe give you 5-10 minutes a game. That's what he's giving the Golden State Warriors.
if he plays on, if he doesn't get bought out or released or waived
Yeah.
as part of this trade. To the final deal that I think has any kind of real substance. The Phoenix Suns, they got Royce O'Neal and David Roddy in a 3-team trade with the Brooklyn Nets, where they got Jordan Goodwood, Kira Bates-Diop, 3 second-round picks. 2 of them came from Memphis. Memphis got Yuta Wannabe and Meptu. I cannot.
Yuta Watanabe.
Watanabe.
You too, Watanabe.
Watanabe. All right, Watanabe. I love this trade for the Phoenix Suns. Getting Royce O'Neal is kind of the piece that they've needed, a 3-and-D wing. That gives. I'm not sure how they even pulled this off. So kudos to them. Kudos to their front office. I like Royce O'Neal on this Phoenix Suns team.
Yeah, it gives them some depth, gives them some toughness. Both David Roddy and Royce O'Neal are tough guys. But I mean, you're adding it. Man, they're coming into the Phoenix Suns at the right time because the Phoenix Suns are clicking on all cylinders. They're hot. It seems like the big three is look like. I mean, like
they're healthy finally. So
they're healthy, but it's like seamless. Like they work so well together. When you see them playing on the court, like you got Booker's playing the 1. Beal's the 2, Durant's the 3. I mean, these guys are playing so well together, and then you add guys like this to possibly come off your bench. I mean, and they needed that bench depth. So I like, and Yuta Watanabe wasn't playing for them either. I mean, he was just buried on that bench. He wasn't getting any tick for them. So I like this trade for the Phoenix Suns, man. And Yuta Watanabe is going to be able to what? He's going to go. Is he where's he going back to? He's going
Memphis?
to Memphis? Yeah. So he's going to be able to play in Memphis. I mean, that's a loss for them,
especially now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's been our breakdown of every trade that went down today. The other trades that I found interesting that went down yesterday, I really like this Minnesota Timberwolves trade. Getting Monte Morris and the Pistons getting Shake Milton, Troy Brown Jr., who still has a little bit of upside there, and then a 20-30 second-round pick. Monte Morris is like the perfect complement to what they already have in Minnesota. Wasn't he there like less than a year ago too? Wasn't he part of the...
Okay.
I could have sworn he was part of the Rudy Gobert trade.
Monte Morris?
Yeah. But maybe not. I don't know. Also, the Celtics got Xavier Tillman, and the Detroit Pistons, as you mentioned, got Fontecchio. That's probably not
Fontecchio.
Monte Morris.
Fontecchio.
Monte Morris was in Denver, then the G League, then Washington. Now he's in Detroit.
And now he's in Minnesota.
It's funny, man. It's funny because because Fontecchio is Italian, Gallinari's Italian. It's like they waved Gallinari. They're like, yeah, we're gonna go with the younger version of Gallo, pretty much. You know what I mean? Except he's just like 2 inches shorter. But yeah, Fontecchio. Even though he's 28, he was undrafted back in like 2017. And then he stayed in Europe for all these years, and he finally came over. And like he's one of those guys like remember Jose Calderon, right? Like he came over like late, and he's like super seasoned. He's a 3-and-D guy. He's long. He's athletic. So I like that. I like that trade. And he's gonna go in Detroit, and he's gonna play some major minutes for them. He's gonna play some major minutes to see what he's actually really about. So
let's talk early winners. If you had to give some of your early winners, Izzy, I'll let you go first. Early winners of this year's NBA trade deadline.
Early winners, I'm gonna go. First one's probably the Mavs getting PJ Washington, and definitely the Knicks getting. They've won 16 out of 19 games, if I'm not mistaken. They're the second hottest team next to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have won 16 out of
14 out of 15.
Cavaliers have won 16 games, 16 and 1.
At least they've won 7 in a row. They're
14 out of 15. I was literally
14 out of 15. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So they're I think they won. They might be winning today, so they might go 15 out of 16. So yeah, so the Knicks are the second hottest team in the NBA. And it's crazy that they're 3-4 right now, if I'm not mistaken, in the East. And so you add, the
Cavs are the 2 seed right now. They just jumped Milwaukee with their win yesterday, and then the Knicks are 4.
The 4 seed. So yeah, Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic, man, Bogey's, he can light it up. Alec Burks is a microwave coming off the bench. I like that trade for the Knicks, a lot. So You
I
have
love
some other winners, but go ahead.
I love the Knicks as my main winner. I love pushing all your chips sort of to the middle. Like they still have a lot of flexibility in the future. They didn't push everything in the middle, and they still have an opportunity to make some trades in the offseason, bring in maybe a star if somebody gets disgruntled. I love what the Knicks did. I also love what the Thunder did, bringing in Gordon Hayward to just kind of stabilize this roster a little bit, get a veteran guy there can kind of stabilize that team. I also have the Mavs, which is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
TJ.
Personnel wise, right?
Personnel wise. I like Boston getting Xavier Tillman, solid backup big. Because KP gets hurt, they want to be able to play somebody who can kind of does what KP do. The other big man they had on their roster, what's his name, Metu. Like he's a big body, but he can't stretch the floor the way KP can. Another early one. I love what Dallas is doing. Hey, get people around Luka that can hoop. Like God damn, like get them. Like they need that. Like I like what. Yeah, I even like Milwaukee getting Pat Bell. Like we touched on that. Just early winners. Yeah, those are my early ones.
And you know what? You know I want to say who else is a winner? The Utah Jazz for getting that first round pick. It's real. That 2024 first round pick from the Toronto Raptors. Yeah,
talk about it. Moving on, not everybody can be a winner. We got to swing it into the loser side of this, and I'm going first. And I'm going to pick all the teams that decided to be inactive on this NBA trade deadline day, including the Hawks, the Bulls, Lakers, Warriors. For different reasons, I just think if the Hawks, I think you had to trade DeJounte Murray. His contract becomes difficult to trade. This is standing pat because this is a roster that does not work. You're like you needed to do something here at the Hawks. Either move some other pieces around or figure something out. The Chicago Bulls, we will do a whole show about the Chicago Bulls at some point. They're for sure a loser. The Warriors, I understand it's difficult to break up the dynasty, and you want to be the one to have to make that decision. But this Warriors team is currently constructed, you ain't winning nothing. You're wasting a very valuable Steph Curry season. And then the Lakers, I think they're going to be fine as is because I actually think their rosters played better as of late. And I think that they're going to be a playoff basketball team.
Their roster hasn't played better. Certain players.
Yeah, okay.
The roster as a whole is trash.
And then my main loser of a team that made a bunch of moves is the Raptors. I don't understand either trade they made today. Giving up Dennis Schroeder for Spencer Dinwiddie just to waive him. Giving up anything at all of value for Kelly Olynyk doesn't make a lot of sense to me at all, especially a first-round pick. Baffling. Absolutely baffling.
Yeah, the Lakers are a loser. I said it right. They're gonna try to be buyers, but no one's picking up. Like they have nothing that anybody else wants outside of D'Angelo Russell, and he's too valuable for you to move right now. Like you can't move D'Angelo Russell if you're the Lakers because of how he's been playing. Again, this is a roster with two Hall of Famers, one guy who's heralded as the best player ever, and you're a battling 500 team. Very underwhelming, very underachieving team if you're the Los Angeles Lakers. And Laker fans got to get out of this psyche that, oh, well, we was in the play-in last year and we ended up in the Western Conference Finals. That's not the point. This team constructed, this is LeBron, this is AD. Play-in? Y'all ain't supposed to be nowhere near the play-in. Y'all supposed to be in the upper echelon since y'all the Lakers, right? That's what y'all supposed to be, right? Like the Lakers are losing, but again, they didn't make no moves because they can't make no moves. Same thing with the Warriors. There's no move that the Warriors could make that be like, hey, this puts us back into the driver's seat. There's nothing.
It's true.
I think trading Clay was like, man, I don't think they wanted to do that, man. That's a hard decision to make, man. He helped build that franchise back up to win 4 rings, and so I think that's hard. Even though Jonathan Kaminga, and Jonathan Kaminga makes him expendable like
That's
crazy.
true.
Actually, man, Brandon Pajemski makes Chris Paul
That's
expendable.
another guy. I mean, Chris Paul like is still on this team. Like I know he's been hurt, but he's going to come back at some point. The fact that we don't know exactly what the conversations were out there. Obviously,
Right.
there will be rumors within the next couple days about like the stuff that was on the table that teams have passed on. Which is TJ always one of the things that TJ talks about. Like these inactive teams, like there may not have been offers on the table that were just worth pulling the trigger for. Like,
And that's the case with the Bulls, right? I'm pretty sure they got calls for DeMar or fielded calls for DeMar. They fielded calls for Caruso and Drummond. And
well,
if I'm
I think their asking price for Caruso was absurd. Like,
no, it's not. No, it's
Who
not.
was
No, it's not.
I forget who was rumored to possibly get Drummond was the Philadelphia, right?
No, it
Philadelphia
is.
was
and
rumored to
Dallas too.
And Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but like if I'm no, if I'm Chicago, you damn right. You see what Alex Caruso has done for my team. You see what he did for the Lakers. You goddamn right. I'm asking for minimum 2 firsts.
Hmm.
Because if you want them, that's what you're gonna do. Give up.
But now the Bulls run the risk of losing both of those guys for nothing in free agency. I think getting something would have been better than nothing, assuming that they both leave. But
I don't think that. If one was to leave, it would probably be Drummond because he's like Caruso starts. Caruso starts at like if
I know,
one
but
was
it's
to
some.
leave,
I mean, if you're DeMar DeRozan, I think you want to try to win a title, and I just don't think it's going to happen for him in Chicago. But I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
I mean, the one thing about the Bulls is like, man, I said it the other day. I mean, in TJ, I mean, Kobe White's coming into his own. He's been tremendous this season, and I mean, I think not having Zach, play for them has been a godsend for him this season. But
But
yeah, I did expect
really,
the Bulls. I did expect the Bulls to make a trade at either Drummond or DeRozan. I mean, it just seems like they're still trying to because I don't think this team is going to make the top 6 in the Eastern Conference final. In the Eastern Conference, they're going to
Zach
remain a playing team.
and Zach getting hurt kind of Zach getting hurt probably derailed a lot of shit. Like
I mean, the Bulls announced in November they were going to try to find a trade
Oh
partner.
man,
for
if
Zach
he
LaVine.
was still healthy and playing, I think he would.
if
he
he
would
was
be the
if
guy.
he was,
Gone.
if he was
Kobe
still-
White has made him expendable.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You know what? So I liked everything you guys. I'm pretty much agree with everybody. All the teams that you guys mentioned. How about I throw this team out there? How about the Houston Rockets? Right? How about the
Yeah.
Houston Rockets not maybe adding another veteran or two?
And I still don't understand that Steven Adams trade. Like, a guy who's not going to play this season, you give up like some tangible, valuable stuff. Like, please make that.
Yeah,
make
so
sense.
I would have liked the Houston Rockets to maybe add a veteran or two here. I would have loved for them to maybe try and swing like OKC pulled that trigger on Gordon Hayward. I mean, Houston had a lot of young pieces that they could have gave up to the Charlotte Hornets that they could have probably got for Gordon Hayward. One thing I'd probably do expect maybe them to look at a guy like maybe bringing Kyle Lowry back. To come off that bench, maybe bring in Spencer Dinwiddie in, maybe to make that push to make the play in because that team, they're kind of hurt too. Like Tari Easton hasn't played; he's a nice young player for them. Like he's been hurt. And there's just been Fred VanVleet has that like that strain, that oblique strain that he's going to be out for. We don't even know how long he's going to be out for. So now
he just had to have surgery on his elbow.
Yeah, and so now.
He's gonna be out for 3 weeks at least.
So now you're looking at a good month of the season where Fred VanVleet maybe not be playing, and you don't really have good depth behind him outside of Aaron Holiday. So
so let's just swing into the last part of the show. Let's talk about most shocking trade. Your most shocking trade of the day was what?
didn't happen. There was no shocking trade, in my opinion.
I would say the highway robbery trade where the Jazz got the first round pick. That might be the shocking trade. But Kelly, you know what, David, you've been trashing Kelly Olynyk also.
He's a fine player, but if he seems like a piece you would add if you were trying to get over the hump. there's no hump for the Raptors to get over. They're what they are. Like
He's
I'm
Canadian,
sorry.
from Canada.
Okay, sure, super. That's
He's like,
great news.
he's like fine and dandy.
Buddy Hield for me. I didn't necessarily expect Buddy Hield to get traded to Philadelphia. I love that trade for the Sixers. It's probably my most shocking trade. But there were not a lot of blockbuster like Woj bombs trades in this particular trade deadline. Buddy Hield was the best player on the move. Period.
Which I kind of find it ironic that like I still find it like even though he's hurt, yeah, Zach LaVine didn't get traded, but like we've seen injured players get traded before.
I mean, we saw Steven Adams get traded earlier this week. I mean, they got traded for 3 second-round picks, and he's not going to play this season. Like, please make that trade make sense of any kind of level. I don't. Please, someone.
Yeah.
Which, like again, like we've seen injured players get traded before, and yeah, like shocking trade. Like I said, just didn't happen. I guess Pat Bev getting traded to like Philly trading Pat Bev is kind of shocking because I'm just like I like because like what he's gonna do in Milwaukee, he's doing for Philly, which I definitely don't understand. I don't understand that trade from the Philly standpoint.
And also, what's his name? Tyrese Maxey has been. I know he's an All-Star this year, but he's just coming off injury as well. And so, they need some depth. Even trading Jaden Springer. I mean, they're going to lack some depth. So I expect Philly to kind of be.
They're going to be involved in the buyout market.
In the buyout market, yeah, exactly. So I think they'll be in line for Kyle Lowry, Spencer Dinwiddie. One of those guys will be going to the Sixers. I expect to back up Tyrese Maxey.
And the final portion of the show, let's talk about most head scratching. And yeah, I cannot get behind this Raptors Jazz trade. I can't get behind any of the trades that Raptors made today. But the main one for me is the Raptors Jazz trade and the Jazz swindling a first round pick out of Toronto.
This is why like and games like this is why the Bulls are losers. Like you play your ass off against Minnesota, you battle one of the better teams in the league. You down 23 against them, but then you just lock in defensively. You get 15 blocks, 9 steals, and then you have a couple days off, and you go to Memphis against a shorthanded Memphis team, and you're struggling with them. Like you're down 4 to Memphis with no Ja, no Marcus Smart.
Like, no Steven Adams.
Hey! I need Kobe White to have one of those quarters like he did.
But like
2 nights ago in the fourth quarter, bro.
But isn't that sad that like we're asking him to go to that extreme against this Memphis team?
Yeah,
he's.
But how about most head scratching trade? Is he got one?
Trade, man. There's a few of them. I mean, like you said, David, that trade with the Utah Jazz and the Toronto Raptors. Don't know what you're doing there. The trade between the Nets and the Raptors as well, like a bunch of them, like them getting Spencer Dinwiddie, they're gonna just waive him, and the Nets getting Dennis Schroeder. I like it for the Nets, but I don't get it for Toronto. You know what I mean? Golly, I don't know what I don't know what golly, not what the Mavs, not the Mavs, but not the Mavs, but the Pistons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Pistons were doing, Shake Milton. I like that trade for the Pistons. Timberwolves also. But the Kevin, Simone Fontecchio. Whatever. I don't know. There's not really like TJ said, there's not really a head scratching trade, today outside of that one. Outside of what the Raptors did, I think they're pretty much the consensus on head scratchers.
Just don't make like certain teams like you trade deadline off season. You see why certain teams are in the predicament that they in 90% of the time because they do dumb shit. Like they're not ran properly and I don't know who like and my side Jerry, like you know what it's like to put a championship team together, and you've gone so far away from that. Like, and again, I understand you're rebuilding, but at the same time, like, yo, what was today for you? What was the goal? Like, what was the goal today? If you're my side Jerry.
But yeah, that's been our 2024 trade deadline special. What went down? We broke down every single deal that happened within the last 2 days in the NBA. Thank you very much for joining us here at the Prime. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. I'm David Huffman. Right there is Israel Rivera, TJ Hopkins. And gentlemen, what do we do here at the Prime, my friends?
Bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking down that trade deadline, son.
Let's go, baby. Next year, let's hope for a little more pizzazz because this was kind of meh.
Yeah, this is lukewarm. This is a lukewarm trade deadline, man.
Like I work in a newsroom, right? And like usually last year during the trade deadline, there were like a lot of like people talking during the trade deadline, and like there was like a lot of conversation. Not a one, nothing. So. But yeah, we'll be back here probably the Super Bowl after the Super Bowl. So enjoy the Super Bowl on Sunday. Hopefully, whoever you're rooting for wins. We'll be back here on Monday to break it down. So take care and be safe, everybody.
Go KC, baby.
Go San Fran.